that there's a rally also in Sacramento, but I appreciate you coming out here to our local demonstration. All the parts matter. So being in Sacramento, being here, for those who can't join but who are over, keeping track over social media, being conscious of our disability community, who can't always come out. But I want to thank you all for participating and for being here. So I grew up in Sacramento, and when I was in high school, one of the things that we needed to do in order to complete our credits and graduate was that we needed to volunteer for an organization. And at the time I was 17, yes. And I was debating between whether I wanted to volunteer at the Sacramento Zoo or if I wanted to volunteer for Planned Parenthood. And at the time, those things seemed equal to me. But my dad, of all people, said, look, if you volunteer at the zoo, they will get some benefit from it. But if you volunteer at Planned Parenthood, any money that they save by having you helping them is going to go towards getting someone an abortion or getting them health care that they need. And so I said, okay, I will volunteer at Planned Parenthood. And so I did, and it was the surgical center. So I got to see all the protesters who would come out and literally terrorize, the women who came for abortions, even if they weren't there for an abortion. I got to observe some of the counseling sessions of women who are seeking abortions and hear them talk about why they needed an abortion. And overwhelmingly, these were women who were already mothers, and they were women of color, and they were women who couldn't afford to have a regular doctor. And so they came to Planned Parenthood because it was the only place they knew to go. And they were like, I can't afford another child. I'm trying to take care of the children that I have. And a lot of them were using birth control, and their birth control failed. And it wasn't their fault. But it doesn't even matter if it's their fault, because it's a medical procedure. And it's a medical procedure that anyone should be entitled to, because our bodies are ours. Woo! And at the time it was, mostly cis women who were getting abortions, but we know that there are trans men who get abortions. There are non-binary folks who get abortions. This is not just a women's issue. It's the issue of everyone who has a uterus. It's the issue of anyone who cares for someone who has a uterus. It is a fundamental human right. Woo! Because the thing is, they're not going to stop here. They're not going to stop at abortion. Judge Thomas said today, he's got his eye on contraception of all kinds. He's got his eye on marriage equality. He's got his eye on trans-affirmative health care. So the moment that we lose sovereignty over our own bodies is the moment that we are not free, period. Because if we don't have dominion over our own bodies, how can we be free? We have just had our freedom removed. And we can't just stand by and let that happen. Woo! And as we've said before, the people who are on the front lines, the people who are going to be affected first and affected the most, and who are least resilient to absorb this blow, are the people who are most marginalized. It's people in prison who are pregnant and can't go anywhere in order to get an abortion. They have no rights to travel whatsoever. It would be trans folks who might not be able to, move, or it could be undocumented immigrants for whom traveling is extremely fraught. It's people who don't have the money to travel and stay somewhere. So it's always going to be the people that the Supreme Court and the GOP basically consider disposable, who are going to be the ones who get affected first. And the only way that we can try to support the people who are going to need it most is for those of us with privilege to use our privilege and stand up with and beside and behind the folks who are going to need us. Woo! So when we gather, this is what it's all about. It's in order to be in community and look at each other and make this commitment that we're not just going to move on. Because this is a plan that has been decades in the making. This is why today, on the day that this decision came down, one state after the other, abortion rights fell across the United States. Why? Because they have been planning this for decades. This is their fantasy and they finally have it. So we have to be organized and we have to be determined and we have to be committed for the long run, because there are people who fought and died for this right. And there are going to be more people who are fighting, and there will be more people who will die because this right is being denied to them. And we are the ones whose responsibility it is to stop it. Thank you.